a YouTube user named Keith Truth has been of late engaging the claims of some Catholic apologists and showing them how when an ancient, an early father speaks highly, uses exalted language concerning the Bishop of Rome, it doesn't necessarily mean that church father believed in the papacy, in the supreme rule of the Bishop of Rome over the entire church. Um, I'd urge you all to check Keith out. He's a very bright apologist. He has a lot of videos countering the false claims of a lot of Catholic apologists. He has a lot of very good videos against Islam. He has a lot of videos on the deity of Christ. But I just kind of wanted to. I've had this idea in the back of my mind for a long while. And I just never got around to doing it. But concerning the papacy, a church father that I can think of reading his writings, he is very he presents very strong evidence that the early church, even in the 400s, understood the concept of the supreme rule of the Bishop of Rome over the church and over the and for that matter, Rome being so important because the Vicar of Christ was presiding there. It's John Chrysostom. And John Chrysostom, he was flourishing around the same time as Augustine, late 400s, excuse me, late 300s or 400s. And I wanted to look at just two quick blips in his writings. He was a great preacher. He was called Chrysostom. That literally means golden tongued or golden mouth. I think I would have really enjoyed hearing his preaching. Incidentally, if you're Catholic and watching this, I'm not trying to say St. John Chrysostom was a Protestant. I know his Eucharistic theology was very Roman Catholic. What I am saying is that with the way Chrysostom speaks, I don't think he's a modern Roman Catholic either. And it's not right to read Roman doctrine into some of his writings. This, what this is here is this is homily 23 on Acts of the Apostles. He's commenting on the Jerusalem Council. Now, if I was Catholic, I would be shaking my head and just. Have you ever heard the way Roman Catholics try to read a papacy? Roman Catholic apologists, anyway, some of them, try to read a papacy into the Jerusalem Council. They try to paint this picture that everyone's quarreling about the issue of Gentiles having to keep the law and this and that and eat kosher foods, and everybody's bickering back and forth. And all of a sudden, Peter the Pope stands up, and everyone falls silent because the Vicar of Christ is speaking. And then they can ignore the fact that after the Vicar of Christ speaks, Paul and Barnabas speak. The Vicar of Christ just gave his take on it. Why does anybody else even need to speak? But they focus on verse 12. The multitude kept silence. Like, Peter is speaking, so let us be silent before him. You want to see what Chrysostom had to say about the multitude kept silence? There was no arrogance in the church. After Peter, Paul speaks. None silences him. James waits patiently, not starts up for the next word. Great the orderliness of the proceedings. No word speaks John here. No word the other apostles, but held their peace. For James was invested with the chief rule, and they think it no hardship. Woo! I thought Peter was in charge of the Jerusalem Council. Not in Chrysostom's opinion. He rightly reads that it was James, not the quote-unquote Bishop of Rome or whatever. But do you see why he said, in his opinion, why everybody kept silence? Not because the Vicar of Christ was speaking, because he felt the early church was being polite. They weren't being arrogant. They let Peter say his piece. Then they let Paul say his piece. And, it's something that I think what he's implicitly saying is it's something we all ought to strive for amongst our fellow Christians, is not lacking arrogance in being, being polite to one another, letting everyone say their piece. Then, now this is interesting. This is homily 32. Homily 32 on Romans. This is the very end. Okay? And we'll get to verse 24. Here's what he said. This is about the Church of Rome, he concludes. Okay, where the cherubim sing the glory, where the seraphim are flying, here we shall see Paul as a chief and leader of the choir of saints, and we shall enjoy his generous love. He loved, if when he loved men so, that when he had the choice of departing and being with Christ, he chose to be here. Much more will he display the warmer affection. Great point, Chrysostom. I love Rome even for this, although indeed one has other grounds for praising it, both its greatness, its antiquity, its beauty, its populousness, for its power, and its wealth, its successes in war. Let it all pass, esteem it blessed on this account. Both in his lifetime, he wrote them, loved them so, and talked with them whilst he was with us, and brought his life to a close there. Now here's the big, wherefore the city is more notable upon this ground than upon all others together. Why is the city and the Church of Rome so noteworthy? Is it because Peter, the vicar of Christ, was there? No. Was it because the papacy is currently there? No. It's because Paul was there, according to Chrysostom, and to conclude, he says elsewhere that all these other reasons combined, combine them together, and the greatest reason to honor Rome is because the great Apostle Paul wrote to them and them. Wow. I don't know too many Roman Catholics. I'd like to ask Chrysostom, well, what about the papacy? What about this? Is pretty strong evidence, and there's a lot more evidence from the writings of Chrysostom that the church at his time did not see, the Bishop of Rome as somehow being the vicar of Christ and the supreme bishop throughout the world. And I don't know. I'm just tacking this on as a video response to Keith's work, and I hope you'll accept it. And Keith, may I say, you're doing a fine job. And just hope this work edifies you, and Catholics just gives you something to think about. God bless.